I never thought a simple knock on my door would change my life forever. It was Mother's Day morning. The air was soft and cool, carrying the scent of lilacs from the bush near my porch. I had just poured myself a cup of tea, steam curling up in front of the kitchen window. My house was quiet, as it had been for years since my husband passed away and my daughter moved to the city. Mother's Day used to mean laughter and hugs, the smell of pancakes and coffee, my husband's off-key singing in the living room. Now it was just me, the ticking clock on the wall, and the occasional hum of a car passing by. Then I heard it, a soft thump against the wooden porch. I froze for a moment, the spoon in my hand hovering over my mug. Slowly, I moved to the front window and parted the lace curtain. A box. Just an ordinary brown cardboard box sitting in the centre of my porch. No delivery truck in sight. No footsteps on the sidewalk. My heart beat a little faster, and curiosity pushed me toward the front door. When I opened it, the crisp morning air brushed against my face, and a bird chirped somewhere in the oak tree. I stepped out onto the porch and bent slightly to read the top of the box. Scrawled in thick black marker were the words, "Happy Mother's Day, Grandma. Love, Tyler." My grandson. My only grandson. I smiled without thinking, warmth blooming in my chest. Tyler had never done something like this before. He usually just called or sent a card through my daughter. Seeing his name in his own handwriting made my heart ache with love, but at the same time, something felt strange. I tilted my head. The box was still. Too still. It wasn't heavy when I nudged it with my slippered foot, and there was no card or wrapping paper, just this plain box sitting there like it had been left in a hurry. I bent closer, squinting. That's when I noticed faint lines. Thin slits along the sides of the cardboard like tiny vents. A prickle ran up the back of my neck. Why would a gift need air holes? I reached out, hesitating, my fingers brushing the rough cardboard. "Don't open it!" The scream made me jump. My heart leapt into my throat. I spun around. Mrs. Hensley, my neighbour from across the street, was standing in her yard with grocery bags in her hands. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with fear. She dropped the bags, oranges and a carton of milk spilling into the grass, and started running toward me, faster than I had ever seen her move in all her 60 years. "Step away from that box!" she yelled again, her voice cracking. I froze, one hand still hovering near the box. "What? Why?" I called back, confused. "It's from my grandson." She cut me off, waving her arms frantically. "No, don't touch it. I know that box. I saw something. Just trust me." My stomach twisted as fear tangled with confusion. I crouched and leaned closer to the box, and that's when I heard it. A sound. Faint, almost hidden by the rustle of leaves in the wind. Scratch. Scratch. Then silence. I jerked back, my breathing uneven. "Mrs. Hensley, what's going on?" I asked, my voice trembling. She reached my porch and grabbed my arm with surprising strength. "Don't touch it," she hissed. "Step back. Call 911. Now." I could see her hands shaking, the whites of her eyes showing. "Are you saying this is—" I couldn't finish the sentence. "Please, just listen to me." The urgency in her voice cut through my hesitation. I fumbled for my phone and dialed 911 with trembling fingers. The operator answered, calm but alert. 911, what's your emergency?" There's a package on my porch," I stammered. "And my neighbour she says don't open it. It's moving." "Stay on the line, ma'am," the operator said. "Do not touch the package. Officers are on the way." I swallowed hard and stared at the box. It sat there like an innocent gift. But now I noticed tiny tremors, almost imperceptible, rippling across the cardboard. Scratch. Scratch. Bump. I stepped back until my spine pressed against the front door. My legs shook so hard I thought I might fall. 10 minutes. That's all it took for the police to arrive. But those 10 minutes felt like an eternity. The world had narrowed to the box, the sound of my own heartbeat, and the distant wail of approaching sirens. I thought about my grandson. Sweet little Tyler. Could he have sent me something dangerous? It didn't make sense. He was only 12. He still called me after school to tell me about his video games and soccer practice. And yet, why the air holes? Why the scratching? The patrol car pulled up, tires crunching over gravel. 2 officers stepped out, their expressions sharp and cautious. One of them, a tall man with a firm voice, approached the porch. "Ma'am, step back, please." I obeyed, clinging to Mrs. Hensley's arm. He crouched and examined the box without touching it. His partner scanned the street, hand hovering near her holster. "Is this the package?" he asked. "Yes," I whispered. "It's from my grandson." He frowned, leaning closer. Then it happened. The box moved. A sudden, sharp bump against one side. We all froze. Then a scraping sound like something or someone inside was trying to get out. The officer's hand twitched toward his radio, and that's when a muffled voice came from inside the box. "Help!" The porch went silent. I thought I had imagined it at first. That whisper, soft and muffled like it was trapped behind layers of cardboard. But the look on Officer Daniels's face told me he had heard it too. He froze, crouched by the box, his gloved hand hovering just inches above the flaps. "Did that?" he said slowly, his voice tight. "Just speak?" Mrs. Hensley gripped my arm so hard I winced. "Dear Lord," she whispered. I told you it wasn't normal." Then it came again. "Help!" A faint, strained plea, followed by another soft scratch from inside. I clapped my hand over my mouth. My chest tightened with terror and confusion. Was someone in there? Was my grandson? No, that didn't make sense. Tyler couldn't fit in a box like that. He was a growing 12-year-old boy, tall for his age. And even if he somehow had tried a silly prank, why would he whisper for help like that? The female officer, Morales, stepped up, her hand still near her gun. "Daniels," she said quietly, "don't open it yet. Let's follow protocol. This could be a hazardous package or something worse." Something worse. My stomach twisted. "Ma'am," Morales said to me, her tone firm but not unkind, "we need you to step inside your house, lock the door, we'll handle this." I shook my head, trembling. "No, I can't. My grandson, he sent it. It has his handwriting on it. I need to know what's happening." Daniel straightened, his eyes scanning the box as if trying to see through it. "Ma'am, did your grandson tell you he was sending you anything today?" I swallowed hard. "No, I didn't know he had my address. He usually sends things through my daughter." "Could someone else have sent this?" he pressed. "Someone pretending to be your grandson?" The thought made my blood run cold. I didn't answer. Instead, I stared at the box as another soft bump pushed against one corner. Morales grabbed her radio. "Dispatch, we need bomb squad and EMS at 324 Elm Street. Suspicious package, possible human inside. Request immediate backup." Her voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed her unease. The next few minutes were a blur. A small crowd had gathered down the street, neighbours peeking from porches, murmuring. Sirens wailed again, closer this time, and soon a larger police van and an ambulance pulled up. Then came a black truck with bomb squad stenciled across the side. The sight of it made my knees weak. I leaned against the doorframe, heart pounding. A man in a heavy protective suit stepped out, moving with measured calm. Another followed, carrying a shielded container and a small toolkit. The first bomb tech crouched by the box, tilting his helmet slightly toward it. Everyone held their breath. The wind rustled through the trees. Somewhere a dog barked, then, "Help, please." The voice was clearer now, desperate. The bomb tech stiffened, then lifted a hand to signal the officers. "Movement and vocalization detected," he said, his voice muffled under the helmet. "Switching to audioscope." He pulled out a slender wand with a small microphone at the end and pressed it against the side of the box. The sound of soft breathing filled the quiet street. faint but real. Then a whisper. "It's dark. I can't breathe." I felt the world tilt. "No!" I cried, stepping forward. "You have to open it. Someone's in there." Morales blocked me with an outstretched arm. "Ma'am, stay back. We need to ensure it's safe first." I shook my head, tears blurring my vision. "Tyler wouldn't hurt anyone," I whispered. "He wouldn't—" The bomb tech held up a hand. "We're proceeding with X-ray scan," he said. Another tech brought over a small portable scanner, sliding a metal panel gently under the box. A soft hum filled the air as they activated it. We all waited, breathless. Then an image flickered onto the tablet in the tech's hand. Everyone leaned closer. I gasped. Inside the box, curled up like a doll, was a child. My legs nearly gave out. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." The image showed a small figure, knees to chest, head bent forward, arms wrapped around thin legs. I couldn't tell if it was a boy or girl, but they were still. Too still. "Confirmed," the tech said tightly. "Live subject inside. Size suggests child. Initiating emergency extraction." Daniels swore under his breath. Morales called EMS to prepare. The bomb tech carefully sliced open one flap with a specialized knife, his movements slow and precise. A strong sour odor leaked out, like sweat and something metallic. I gagged, covering my nose. Then he peeled the flap back, revealing the darkness inside. A small hand trembled, reaching out weakly. "Oh my God," Mrs. Hensley whispered behind me. The tech reached in, gently lifting the small figure into the sunlight. It was a boy. His face was pale, lips dry and cracked. His eyes fluttered open just enough to meet mine. He wasn't Tyler. He was a stranger. Before I could process that, the boy coughed weakly and whispered, "They said, you're next." The boy's whisper lingered in my mind like an echo in an empty hall. "They said, you're next." Then his head slumped forward, and the paramedics swarmed him, their voices sharp and urgent. "BP dropping! Let's move!" I stumbled back against the doorframe as they carried him to the ambulance. My vision swam. My knees felt like they could give out any second. My neighbour, Mrs. Hensley, was trembling beside me, clutching her cardigan like a shield. "Who would do this?" she muttered. "Who would? My God, this is evil!" The police blocked off the street now. Yellow tape stretched across my front yard. Flashing lights bathed the neighbourhood in blue and red. Officer Morales approached me, her face tight with focus. "Ma'am," she said, "I need to ask you something very important. Has anyone threatened you recently? Anyone with a grudge against you or your family?" I blinked at her, stunned. "No. I'm just a retired teacher. I bake pies for the church fundraiser. My voice cracked. "I don't have enemies." But in the pit of my stomach, a tiny doubt twisted. The boy's face wouldn't leave my mind. Who was he? And why did he say I was next? Morales nodded slowly, then signalled to Daniels, who was photographing the box and taking samples of the tape. "Ma'am," Morales said, "can we step inside your home? We need to secure the perimeter and check if anything else was delivered." I nodded numbly and led them in. The warmth of my little cottage, usually comforting, felt heavy and strange. The ticking of the old wall clock seemed deafening. Daniels scanned the living room carefully. "Any packages today besides that one?" I shook my head. "No, I almost didn't even check the porch. It was Mrs. Hensley who saw the box first," she interrupted, her voice tight. "I saw the delivery man leave. He didn't look like the usual postman. He had a cap pulled low, and when he saw me watching, he just walked away fast. No smile, nothing." Morales' eyes narrowed. "Can you describe him?" Mrs. Hensley hesitated. "White cap, dark hoodie, maybe average height. I was mostly looking at the box. It had that messy handwriting." I stepped to my hallway table and picked up the small card that had been taped to the top of the box. It read, in big, uneven letters, Happy Mother's Day, and underneath my grandson's name, Tyler. My heart clenched. The officers exchanged a look. Daniels took the card carefully, sliding it into a plastic evidence bag. Handwriting could be forged, he said quietly. Or, Morales added, your grandson could be in danger. The room spun for a second. I gripped the edge of the table. In danger? But he's with my daughter across town. He's fine. But was he? What if this was some twisted warning? The shrill ring of the house phone jolted me so hard I nearly dropped the vase on the table. We all froze. The sound echoed in the tense silence, every ring dragging out like a siren. Morales picked it up before I could move. This is Officer Morales, Elm Street incident. Who is this? A voice crackled through the line, low and distorted. Do you like the present? My blood went cold. Morales stiffened. Who is this? The voice ignored her. She hasn't opened it yet, has she? Morales motioned to Daniels, who was already tracing the call with his phone. Listen to me, she said firmly. A child was in that box. He is alive. You need to tell us where you are. The voice laughed, chilling and humorless. She's next. You can't protect her. Mother's Day isn't over yet. Click. The line went dead. I gasped, clutching my chest. Mrs. Hensley was crying softly now, rocking in my armchair. Morales cursed under her breath and started giving orders into her radio. Trace the call. Lock this house down. Alert local units. We've got an active threat. I could barely hear her over the pounding in my ears. Someone wanted me dead. And they were using children to send the message. A crash outside made everyone jump. Daniels sprinted to the front window and peered through the blinds. Backyard, he hissed. Someone's moving. Before he could finish, the kitchen window shattered behind me. Glass rained down. A small black object rolled across the floor and stopped at my feet. Smoke hissed out of it. Down! Morales shouted, tackling me to the ground as white smoke filled the living room. My lungs burned. My eyes watered. Through the haze, a shadow moved across the porch, and a voice, muffled but cruel, called out, Happy Mother's Day! The smoke clawed at my throat as I coughed and struggled to see through the blur of grey. My eyes burned, and every inhale felt like swallowing fire. Stay low! Officer Morales yelled, her voice sharp over the chaos. I crawled across the floor, my palms sliding over shards of glass. Behind me, Mrs. Hensley was hacking uncontrollably, her frail body trembling. Daniels rushed to her, pulling his jacket over her mouth and nose. I heard footsteps, heavy and deliberate, outside the porch. Thud, thud. Someone was pacing, waiting. Then came the voice, clear through the smoke and the broken window. You never opened it. You ruined the surprise. A shiver ripped down my spine. Morales crouched next to me, pistol drawn. Stay here, don't move, she whispered. She crawled toward the broken window, trying to spot the intruder. The red and blue flash of the police cars outside barely cut through the haze inside. Daniels pulled Mrs. Hensley toward the back hall, toward the kitchen exit. We need to get you both out, he hissed. I tried to stand, but the smoke stung my lungs, forcing me to crouch again. My legs wobbled like they weren't mine. Suddenly, another crash, this time from the backyard. The back door burst open. A shadowed figure loomed there, silhouetted by the dim porch light. I froze. They were tall, hooded, their face hidden behind a cheap Halloween mask, a white, grinning skull. They stepped inside, slowly, like they had all the time in the world. In their hand they held something small, a phone. It rang once, twice. Then, in that distorted voice from the call, they spoke. Happy Mother's Day. Morales spun around, gun aimed. Police, drop it! The figure didn't move. Instead, they tilted their head, almost playfully, and tossed the phone onto the floor. It landed right next to the shattered window. Then they bolted. Daniels chased them through the backyard, shouting into his radio. Morales stayed with us, dragging me and Mrs. Hensley to the hallway. Through the smoke I could hear shouting, footsteps, the scuffle of boots on wet grass. Then, silence. No sirens, no yelling. Just my own ragged breathing and the distant tick of the hallway clock. Are they gone? I whispered. Morales' face was tense. She peered out the kitchen window, scanning the yard with her gun ready. They're toying with us, she muttered. They could be anywhere. She pressed her radio. Daniels, report. Static. Then a crackle. He's fast. Lost visual. Checking perimeter. I sank to the floor, my hands shaking. I couldn't stop thinking about the box, the boy's whisper, the masked figure's grin. Why me? Why my family? Then another sound cut through my thoughts. Ding. The phone the intruder dropped lit up with a new message. Morales picked it up carefully, her gloved hand hovering over the screen. It was a photo. Of me. Taken inside my house. From the living room. My chest tightened as a wave of nausea hit me. Morales muttered a curse and showed the screen to Daniels when he returned, panting and furious. They've been in here before, she said. They've been watching her. I couldn't stop shaking. My hands were ice cold. Mrs. Hensley sobbed softly in the corner. Why? Why are they doing this? She whispered. I didn't have an answer. But deep down I felt a creeping dread. A suspicion I didn't dare voice. I thought of Tyler, my sweet grandson, the box, the forged handwriting. And then, a memory surfaced. 2 months ago, my daughter had begged me to co-sign a loan. I'd said no. She'd been angry, furious even. But surely she wouldn't. Before I could finish the thought, there was a knock at the front door. 3 slow knocks. Then a voice. Grandma, it's me. Tyler. Morales gestured for silence, her eyes locked on the door. She mouthed, Stay back. Daniels crept to the peephole. His face went pale. It's him, he whispered. My heart leapt, but something felt wrong. I stood frozen, listening. The voice outside spoke again. Why didn't you open your gift? The knock at the door echoed like a heartbeat in my chest. 3 slow knocks, and then the voice I loved more than almost anything in the world. Grandma, it's me, Tyler. My breath caught. I wanted to run to the door, to hold him, to make sure he was safe. But something about the tone, soft yet off, froze me in place. Officer Morales gestured sharply for me to stay back. She whispered, Do not open it yet. Not until we confirm. Daniels crouched by the window, peeking out carefully. His face went pale. It's him. It looks like him, he muttered. Same height, same jacket from the school photo on the fridge. But he hesitated. He's just standing there. Another knock, then the voice again, slow and measured. Grandma, why didn't you open your gift? A shiver crawled down my spine. That voice. It sounded like Tyler, but hollow, like an echo. Morales moved silently toward the door, gun drawn, and called out, Tyler, sweetheart, it's Officer Morales. Can you step back so we can see you better? There was silence, then the sound of footsteps retreating a few paces. I dared a look through the side window, and I saw him. Tyler, my sweet 12-year-old grandson. His face pale in the glow of the porch light, eyes wide and blank. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't moving much at all. His arms were hanging limp, and there was something dark on his sleeve. I almost cried out, but Morales held up a hand. Tyler, she said gently, we're going to open the door, okay? But you have to keep your hands where we can see them. No response. Morales slowly cracked the door open, gun at her side, and Daniels moved behind her for backup. When the door swung fully open, the cold night air swept in, mixing with the lingering chemical smoke in my living room. Tyler just stood there. Then his lips moved. Grandma, they said you didn't want me anymore. My heart shattered. No, no, baby, I want you, I love you. Come to me. I rushed forward, but Morales caught my arm. Wait. She scanned the porch, the bushes, the street beyond the flashing police lights. Then she crouched to Tyler's level. Sweetheart, who said that? Who told you that? Tyler's eyes flicked to the left, toward the shadow of my hedges. And then a figure rose from the darkness. I gasped as the masked intruder from before stepped into the porch light, that white, grinning skull staring at us. In his hand, a knife glinted. Happy Mother's Day, he said in that same distorted voice. Morales shoved me back inside and shouted, Get down! Everything happened in a blur. Daniels lunged out the door, tackling Tyler out of the way as the figure leapt onto the porch. The two of them crashed into the railing, the wood splintering under the force. Mrs. Hensley screamed from the hallway. The fight spilled into the yard, lit by spinning red and blue. Other officers ran in from the perimeter as Morales sprinted after the attacker. I crawled to the doorway, heart pounding, watching in horror as the masked figure swung wildly at Daniels. He slashed the air, missing by inches before two other officers tackled him to the ground. We got him! Mask off! Someone yelled. I stumbled out into the yard, barely able to breathe, as they ripped the mask off. It wasn't a stranger. It was my daughter's boyfriend, Rick. The man I'd never trusted. The man I'd told my daughter was bad news. His face was twisted with rage as he spat at the grass. She never deserved any of it. She was going to give it all to him. He nodded toward Tyler. All the money, all the love, and we're stuck scraping by while she sits on her perfect little nest egg. Morales kicked the knife away and cuffed him as he thrashed. You sent a child in that box, she said coldly. You could have killed him. Rick sneered. Should have. Then she'd know how it feels to lose everything. I felt my stomach turn. Tyler was sobbing in my arms now, shaking like a leaf. He told me you hated me, he whispered. He said you wanted to replace me. And if I went in the box, you'd forgive me. Tears ran down my face as I held him tight. Oh, baby, no. None of that is true. I love you more than anything. Morales guided us inside while other officers dragged Rick to the squad car. Inside, away from the chaos, Tyler clung to me as if he might vanish if he let go. Piece by piece, the story came out. Rick had been planning this for weeks. He wanted my savings. He knew my daughter and I weren't on the best terms since I refused that loan. He manipulated Tyler, telling him it was a game, that it would make me forgive and love him more. Then he left the box on my porch and waited for disaster to strike. But the neighbour's scream had saved me, and the boy's whispered warning had given us time to catch him. Hours later, the sun began to rise, pale and cold. My house smelled like smoke and broken memories, but Tyler was asleep on my couch, curled up under a blanket. Mrs. Hensley dozed in the recliner, still shaken but safe. I walked out to the porch, watching the last squad car pull away with Rick inside. The street was quiet again. For the first time in hours, I took a deep breath of clean morning air. Mother's Day wasn't what I expected, but I still had my grandson, and that was the only gift I needed. The nightmare was over. I locked the door, kissed Tyler's forehead and whispered, "You're home now, baby. You're safe." And I meant it.